Good evening. This video is for tips and tricks for the Math 8 Semester 1 final that will happen Tuesday and Wednesday this week. Tip number 1, check your review with the key posted on Blackboard. So I have posted on Blackboard, so if you go to your Blackboard and you go to Homework Videos, and the very first one, it's green right here, Review Key for the Final. So if you click on that, the review key will load, and you can check your answers. It will also show some of the work. So I've worked through not the multiple choice problems, but some of the other problems, so you can remember how to do those. Step 1, check your review with the key posted on Blackboard because that's due tomorrow and worth a good amount of homework points. Tip number 2. Tip number 2 is come prepared. So tomorrow you'll need a pencil or a couple pencils. Your note card. Remember, you're allowed to use one 3x5 note card, and you can put any formulas or any examples you would like to on that. And reminder, I've said to put some questions from the review on there maybe, or also the quiz we took a couple weeks ago. And then lastly, make sure you bring your review. Your review is due tomorrow when you come to class. Tip number 3. Tip number 3 is to take your time tomorrow and Wednesday and to try your best. So if you're struggling with one question, skip it and come back. And then just do all the parts you can. Show me any and all work so that I can give you as much points as possible. So take your time, try your best. There will be no questions. So this final is to show me what you have learned all semester long, both quarter 1 and 2. And lastly, there will be no test corrections. And remember, tests are 50% of your grade, and we've had one other test this quarter. It will go into your final grade. So the final is tomorrow, Tuesday and Wednesday, and I will grade them, but you will be on break when they're done graded, so they'll already be put in the grade book, so there are no test corrections. Tip number 4. There are 13 questions on your semester 1 math final. For example, part number 12 on the test has A, B, C, D, and E, but there are only 13 questions. Number 13 just has A and B, and number 1 just has a single problem. So some numbers might have multiple steps, but for the most part, 13 questions, 2 pages front and back. Of the 13 questions, 4 are multiple choice. So remember, with multiple choice A, B, C, and D, just go through the process of elimination if you're not sure and cancel out the ones or cross out the ones you know could not be correct, and then take your best educated guess. Tip number 5, have slope formula on your note card. So y equals mx plus b. If I give you 2 points, x and y, you would plug in for the y and the x, and if I gave you the slope, m, you would plug it in for the slope. So y equals mx plus b, and if I give you a slope and an x and y coordinate, you would plug in just like you did on the review for all 3 of these, and you would solve for b. Tip number 6. Remember, when it's in y equals mx plus b form, y equals mx plus b, m, that coefficient, is the slope. If it's just a 5, you can put it over 1 and say the slope's 5 over 1, mx plus b. Tip number 7. Remember that if you have 2 equations and the slopes are the same, if you have 2 equations, the slopes are the same, then the lines are parallel and there's no solution. Then if you have slopes that are opposite reciprocal, so not just opposites, meaning one's negative and one's positive, but if you had 1/5 and then negative 5 over 1, or 2/3 and then negative 3 over 2. So if you had slopes that are opposite reciprocals, slopes that are opposite reciprocals, then the lines intersect at one point and are perpendicular. Sorry, my screen got messed up there and then I couldn't type while I was talking. So if the slopes are the same, then they're parallel, there's no solution. And then if they're opposite reciprocals, or if it multiplies up to -1, then they're perpendicular, and that means they intersect at one point. Tip number 8. Systems of equations. So with this brace, if I have y equals mx plus b something and something here, when I put that brace on it, that means that it is a system, and those two would be joint together. So you can solve by graphing them. You can solve with substitution, which was in chapter 11, or you can solve with elimination, which is what we just learned last week. So those are your 3 ways. So on the test, I think it's number 12, there's a couple of, no, number 13 maybe, and 11, and yeah. So towards the end, there'll be 2 or 3 problems, and you can choose how you want to solve those. Tip number 9, remember if something is a vertical or if something is a function. So if I had a vertical line and I took this line and I moved it, it cannot touch any point more than once. So here, here, and here, it's all touching the function or the graph. Therefore, it would not be a function because it does not pass the vertical line test. Same with if I drew, let's do like this. Would that pass the vertical line test? So at any one point, so this one would be a function because it does not repeat itself. How about if I did a square or rectangle? Would that be a function? No, because you can see right here the vertical line test does not work. It's not a function because it fails the vertical line test. Step 10. The last tip, number 10, is that you can do it. We've been practicing this all semester, and you've got this. There's going to be some questions on slope. We've practiced, practiced, practiced. Solving systems. You can solve them however you want. Solve them by graphing or don't. You will have to do, I think, 2 graphs. Make sure you put a label, a title, the axis, so the tail. Take your time and use your calculator. If something says 1/4, do 1/4 x, divide 1/4, 1 divided by 4 on your calculator, figure out that it's 0.25. If you're more comfortable leaving things in decimals, leave them in decimals. Show all and any work that you can, and you will do great on this. So lastly, just make sure you come with all the things that you need. Your pencil, your note card, your review, all have the calculator. Have a good breakfast in the morning. If you're 4th hour, bring your snack, and just come ready to show me all of the things that you have learned so far this year. Have a good night.